Hello, everybody, and welcome to the entertainment headquarters, and welcome to the Retro Classic Movie Show. And joining me today is a host of amazing content creators, and most importantly, amazing friends. We have Mr. Walter Ross, we have the Professor Daniel Miller.
Hello.
Mhm. Then we have from Anthony Jordan's Movie and Gaming, Mr. Anthony Jordan. Yes. Even though he's not on screen, he's here. It is Mr. Sci-Fi Sentry.
What it is.
Yes, and finally, a very good friend who is making his debut here on the Entertainment Headquarters. A very good friend of mine. It's about damn time, Mr. Film Fanatic.
What's up? Kevin, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. This is all about you, my friend, because I've been wanting you on the channel for a while. So it's fantastic that you finally arrived. But because it's your debut on the Entertainment Headquarters and the Retro Classic Movie Show, we'll have to talk about one of your all-time favourite films. And, you know, this film means a lot to me as well. It's a film I grew up with. It's a film I've got a lot of fond memories of. And as you know, it's Taste the Blood month here on the Entertainment Headquarters, leading into Halloween, the month of the vampire. So what better film to talk about on the Retro Classic Movie Show than The Lost Boys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've all got it.
Yep.
Just remember, don't let the sun come down on me, please. Okay.
Yes. So let's have a look who is in the chat today, who is joining us tonight. So we have, of course, the fantastic good friend of ours as well, Mr. Jake Hall.
Oh yeah, there he is.
What's up, Jake?
Hello.
What up?
Yes, also joining us tonight, soon to start our own YouTube channel, Mrs. Omni Dark Realm.
What's up,
Hello.
sister girl? What's up?
What's
The
up, Omni?
Sci-Fi Society Baroness.
Yes,
There you go.
thank you for joining us. This is going to be fun. We're going to talk about this much loved classic that we've all thoroughly enjoyed throughout the years. But before we talk about it together, let's look at a little bit of information on The Lost Boys. So, The Lost Boys is a 1987 American black comedy horror film directed by Joel Schumacher, produced by Harvey Bernhard, with a screenplay written by Jeffrey Boehm. This film assembles a cast includes Corey Feldman, Jamie Gates, Corey Haim, Edward Harmon, Bernard Hughes, Jason Patrick, Keith Sutherland, Jasmine Newlander, and Diane Wiest. Yes, the film follows two teenage brothers who move with their divorced mother to the fictional town of Santa Carla, California, only to discover that the town is a haven for vampires. So, let's start this off with a bang. We'll do what we always do when we do this. We'll go around and we'll talk about when we first were introduced to Lost Boys. So, we'll start from the top to the bottom. Mr. Walter Ross.
I had the good fortune, of course, and I was a crazy ass teenager back in the day, but well, quiet. But anyway, I heard about this film before the internet, through trailers, and TV advertising. And I decided to, what's up, Anubis? All right. As we are. Well, I definitely am. But no, getting back to what I was saying, though. No, the fact is, before internet and everything, I saw this trailer. I saw this movie through trailers and TV spots. So I had the good fortune to go see this in the theater to see what it was all about. I figured it was about vampires, but I didn't know exactly what the story was. So I was kind of like, I'm watching this and I'm getting the vibe of being a teenager, because like I say, I was a teenager, it was just the perfect, envelope for me. And watching it, I was like, okay, I'm getting invested in what's going on here, and makes you realize, like I say, yeah, some of the stuff that teenagers do off the cuff, just dumb shit. And truthfully, after years, hell, almost almost 40 years later, this movie still holds up pretty well, considering.
Mhm. Yeah, there is some vampire films that kind of defy the vampire genre. You've got your traditional gothic type vampire films, then you have others that come every so often. Like every generation has their kind of vampire movie, and this definitely for me was one of the top ones that defied the 80s as well as the vampire genre. So, Mr. Daniel Miller.
Yeah, I found out about this movie when I was in a media store, which is movies, books, and of course soundtracks, all those sorts of things. And I was in the soundtrack section, and I saw on vinyl this picture used for the DVD, and I'm like, oh, I've heard about this movie, but I'm not 100% familiar about it. So, of course, because my parents, they grew up throughout the 80s, and I asked them if they knew about the Lost Boys. My father's like, that movie's a classic. You need to find that and watch it sometime. And lucky enough, I go back the next day, and there it is on the shelf. There's a copy of it right there. So yeah, we all sat down and we watched it. And my first time seeing it, it's like, wow, why didn't I watch this sooner? This is great. But yeah, rewatching it again recently, it definitely is starting to grow on me, and I, of course, like the whole '80s aesthetic, especially the '80s youth that many American teens, of course, had the luxury of experiencing, and of course, seeing that, of course, in a vampire movie as well, that just makes it all the more cooler, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely, very very true. So, Film Fanatic.
Well, I saw this film after I watched Twilight. No, I'm kidding. I watched this film like, man, I was in elementary actually. My parents never like stopped. They never let me like stop me from watching any R-rated or horror movies. So when it comes to movies, it's like whatever, watch whatever you want. And I think my father and I we rented this film, and yeah, I just fell in love. It was my first introduction to vampires,
Mhm.
and after that, it was just loving this film throughout the years. Heavy rotation, and I actually had fond memory of we were uh, in elementary school. We actually played Lost Boys at recess. You know,
Oh,
uh,
nice.
some
Wow.
kids were vampires, some were like Sam and the Frog Brothers. Yeah, it was cool.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I've got fond memories of this. They used to always play it like obviously I grew up in the late 80s into the 90s. So it had been out, I would have been young, but it was constantly rerun during
Yeah,
that time on the telly. So it was constantly played every Friday or Saturday night for a good while. So it was something that always fascinated us. And whenever it came on the telly,
yeah,
on the television, it was something I always immediately just went and switched on to watch. Because there's a number of reasons. Ones I like you say, the 80s aesthetic, the clothing, the hair, just overall cinematography of the movie. But the other thing which we'll get into as well that really changed the soundtrack.
yes.
Yeah.
But we'll go to Sci-Fi Century.
Okay. So I saw this movie like a lot of people back in the early 80s. I think it was my sister or my brother-in-law. I think they rented it from this place called Amigo Video, and I wasn't into it at that point. I just played Castlevania, but that's a different game. But like watching it was like I wasn't really into the vampire things until later, but I saw it. You know, a lot of Aquanet, Keith Sutherland, Jason Patrick.
Okay.
Jamie. Jamie. The beautiful Jamie Hertz. Is it or?
Jimmy
Jamie
Gertz.
Yeah.
Yeah. She. Just a lot of Aquanet, man. The '80s, big hair, big everything, and then.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I saw it at that time, but it wasn't until the early 2000s that I rewatched it, and I was like, wow, a lot of things I had to remember, and a lot of things I didn't remember, and I like the overall style of the way they made the vampires, the day they did the face makeup, the prosthetics, but yeah, I saw it probably about 89, but off and on, I was a kid, I was off the wall, so, but yeah, it had to be my sister and brother-in-law that rented it, and that's how I was introduced to it, but I didn't really watch it until the 2000s. But I gotta say, man, the movie's good, but that the song "Cry Little Sister" by Gerard McMahon, that's a classic. That's a total classic musical song and score for the movie. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's how I was introduced to it.
hmm Mr. Anthony Jordan.
Well, I first seen it in the early 90s. I want to say 92, maybe 93. We went over my mom's oldest sister for Thanksgiving, and there was actually a car accident that year getting there, and my mom borrowed a bunch of movies, and this was one of them, and we had it for about 6 months, so it got repeated very regularly, and then we had to give it back, and I didn't really see it again until like the summer going into my senior year of high school, where it was on Showtime like literally every other day. So I watched it a lot that summer.
Yeah. Uh, so, like you've mentioned, the soundtrack is really key to the movie itself. I think it's one of them cases where sometimes a soundtrack can be more popular than a film, or it can be just as equal to the movie. And
Mhm.
I feel like this is the case with the Lost Boys. Like you said, "Cry Little Sister," it's an iconic song, and as soon as anywhere you hear that song, you don't only not only is it like connected to this movie, and as soon as you hear that song, and you instantly think of the Lost Boys. But then I
Right.
also think it's a massive 80s hit, so it brings you back, takes you back in time to the
Yeah.
80s.
Yeah. Exactly. And I was just gonna say that there was a time, I think a few no, I think I had just graduated, probably like a year after I graduated. They actually on one of the radio stations here where I live, they actually replayed that song, or they started playing that song during Halloween holidays
hmm
over the radio. So that was pretty cool. They don't do it anymore, but I mean, I don't know if they do because I don't listen to radio. But, but yeah, but they did that for a while.
Yeah,
It's definitely a classic.
Yeah.
definitely. So let's talk a little bit about the cast. So you had Jason Patrick as Michael. So Michael is the older brother who, this for me is his most well-known role, in my opinion. Then you had Corey Haim, who played Sam, his younger brother, God rest his soul. And then you have the Frog Brothers, who are played by who is played by Corey Freeman and Jamie Newlander. And then you have the mother, who is, their mother, played by Diane Weiss, who I think, did an amazing job. And of course, you have Alexander Bacon Chapman, you have What's he called? Who plays the grandpa? Plays the grandpa.
Oh, man.
Max.
Max. No, Max is no. It's Bernard Hughes.
Mhm.
He plays the grandpa, who I think steals this movie.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh,
man.
towards the end, yeah,
Yeah.
most definitely.
Yes.
Grandpa's the best.
And obviously, yeah, you have the Lost Boys themselves.
hmm And I think this was my first introduction to Kiefer Sutherland. I mean, I know he had played something in Stand By Me a year before, but this is the one that pretty much put the nail in the coffin for me, knowing who he was, because he really gave a very strong performance in what he was doing in here, you know. And it didn't occur to me that he was the son of Donald Sutherland. I was kind of like, what?
Yeah.
That's his son, you know? So
I have to agree with you, Walt. Like he doesn't have much dialogue, but just seeing him on screen, just captivated. It's like, man, something about this dude. He just catches your attention. And
he's got that
I think
presence.
cast real quick, Kevin.
Yeah.
Corey Haim, the two Coreys,
Yeah.
is my first introduction, to them with this film, because I think afterwards they did like a few other movies together. The Coreys, the two Coreys.
Yeah.
Which one was like License to Drive?
Yeah, I remember License to Drive.
Right, and with Jason Patrick and Corey Haim as brothers, I felt they were real brothers. They had great chemistry. I bought that they were brothers, and with Diane, what's her name?
Diane Weiss.
Diane Weiss. Man, she's just endearing mother. I've heard from a interview with Corey Haim. He's like, if he didn't have his mom, that would be his second mom. Like, that's how endearing she is as a mother. And, everybody in this cast played a good part, and I really bought their characters.
Yeah, and you also had Edward Herman, who you mentioned is Max, who owns the video store.
Yeah. Oh, and then putting a video store in there, bro. Is just, oh man, like that's what I'm saying. Like that's so retro. Like you would have put like them adding the what was hot, like what was the in thing in the 80s. Like it just makes the movie that much more. It just makes it stand out more.
Oh, definitely.
See, and I can tell you right now, if you, not to say that if you're a little kid, but if you were a teenager like me back then, watching a film like this it's like a time machine. It just zings you back right to that time when all those things were so popular and outgoing, and it's just like, man, it's like how things have changed now,
Like, I know it came out late 80s, but whenever I watch it, my mind goes to when I first seen it, which was the early 90s.
Awesome.
Yes, definitely. So let's talk about the plot of the movie. So the plot starts off very, it feels like a summer, like you said, it could have been like a coming of age story, which I think, in a lot of ways it is. It starts off with this beautiful sunset setting, heading across the coast, and you see like the gang, I guess we can call the Lost Boys gang, with Keith Sutherland, and they're basically causing trouble at the local amusement park. But then there's another gang there, and they're causing trouble on the carousel when suddenly the security guard comes and he's like, come on, I need both of your gangs to just get out of here. He basically kicks them out. And then you have that scene where the security guard's basically walking across the car park to get to his car, and he looks up in the air and there's clearly something flying towards him, and it ends with his demise, and it's like ends with like the way it's shot, the way it's done. It really sets the tone for like the what's to come for the rest of the film. So who would like to start off with the plot? So I've kind of moved into the beginning of the movie. Who would like to continue?
It's his first time. How
Let D, since
Yeah.
he's the MVP today. He's the man of the hour.
That could
I'll
be
just continue
Christian. I
off
mean, Christian deal.
Yeah. So yeah, after the security guard gets snatched, and you feel like, wow, man, it's so whatever snatched him or whoever was so strong that tore off his freaking car door. Remember that, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
I
Yes.
remember that.
then
Well, yeah.
yeah,
Like
then
he was holding onto the door trying to get into the car, and basically when they lifted him up, they
Right.
lifted the car door up with him.
right, he messed with the wrong crew, you know.
Mhm.
So after that, we get I think it's like another introduction, opening scene where Diane Weiss, Lucy, and her sons are driving through Santa Clara, coming from Arizona. They moved to Santa Clara because of Diane Weiss' divorce, and they're going to go live with her father. Grandpa's, like you said, who's played by Bernard Hughes. And from the introduction, you get like a montage of like different characters that inhibit this community of Santa Carla. You know, you get the billboard that says "Welcome to Santa Clara," and then on the back of the billboard, you see the murder capital of the world. And Sam asks his mom, "Oh, what's that smell? It smells like someone died." And Lucy's like, "Oh no, that's just the beach. You know, that's just the sea air."
And did you not notice as well throughout the montage, as it's showing you like the sites of the area that they're moving to, you also have little lost children posters
Yeah.
Right.
of all the
So
missing
many.
people.
Yes, it's a cumulative of posters of missing children and people, not even just children, you know, people.
And
the
if
title
you,
could kind of have several meanings.
but yes, and I don't know if you
Yeah.
notice, it's very fast. But there is a poster that is shown, but it happens so fast you blink and you miss it, and it's this one.
Oh no!
Ooh,
Oh, I
okay.
never
Oh,
knew that.
shit.
Well, I gotta go
Okay.
back and watch it.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Look how
So-
young freaking Keith Sutherland looks. Wow.
And it actually has the ages on, so Keith Sutherland's character David's only 19.
Well, he looks. I think that's a shot from Stand By Me. You know his character in Stand By Me? Right?
From Stand By Me.
Yeah, they look like they could be yearbook photos.
Yes.
That's it. Yes, that's true. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, real quick, going back to the carousel ride, what Kevin was describing earlier, you see David in the Lost Boys, right? So, that arrangement when they come in, it's a backwards arrangement of how they die.
Yes.
Spoiler alert. But so yeah, so you see the montage of all these different characters, you know, that live in Santa Carla, and you see Michael asking an individual about, you know, a job, and it's like there's no jobs here that's legal, you know, and then you see them going off to Grandpa's house, which he lives a little far off from the coast. You know, he lives like alone, like at a ranch. His home he has like wooden carvings, and he has a few horses. And so they get there to Grandpa's house, and they see this fool laying on the porch, you know, and then Lucy's like, "Oh, Dad, what? Are you okay? Are you okay?" The kids are like, Michael and Sam, like, "Oh, looks like he's dead." And Sam's like, "If he's dead, can we go back to Phoenix?" And Grandpa gets up like, "Playing dead." But what I hear is like a damn good job too.
Here's the question: did he see the car coming towards the house and decide to play that prank, or was he
Right.
like, I don't know when they're going to be here, so I'm just going to lay in this spot motionless till they get there.
Exactly what I was asking myself, Anthony. How long did this guy lay there?
Like neither one of those answers would surprise me with him.
Well, whatever. He's a great actor, man. Method actor in that case. But
yeah, and he's lived there since the mother died as well.
Yeah.
The grandpa. And I think after that, the first scene is where they go into the town, and it's on a night time, and then they see obviously Michael's gang and stuff, and instantly when Sam and Michael are like looking around, Michael's fixated with a girl that he sees like dancing around when you've got the saxophone guy, which that scene is pure 80s. It's like from an 80s rock video.
Yeah.
With
Star.
with the greased up saxophone guy playing the saxophone. And he's all greased up.
Like you said.
yeah, the saxophone guy. He's Tim Capello. He's supposedly Tina Turner's saxophone guy.
Yes.
In real life. But yeah, he's all like greased up, muscled up. This guy looks like he's came from a character from Mad Max, right?
Yes.
That's interesting that you say that because go ahead.
No, like he's singing Careless Whisper. I don't ever want to dance again. His guilty feet have got no rhythm.
No, but to kind of add to what you said, film. If you've seen a couple of the videos from the Beyond Thunderdome, he was in those videos with Tina Turner. He was one for We Don't Need Another Hero, and also one of the Living. You know, he was playing the sax in that for the song. So yeah, that makes that's why I say it's like that makes sense. It's like he was in the videos when you said Tina Turner. It's like okay,
he's just gyrating his ass off on stage. You know, greased up, playing his sax.
Hypnotizing.
I still believe.
Yeah, and then obviously Michael gets fixated on Star, who Star is she's stunning. She's a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Even on there, she's stunning. And like I say, but she has an attraction to Michael as well. And as they're walking around, he follows her, and she's like with Michael and the gang. She sees him get on the back of his bike and they drive off.
Kevin. Before that happened, he does chase after Star when he sees her, but then he turns to his brother. Sam's like, "Don't you have anything better else to do?" And that's when Sam goes into the comic book store and meets the Frog Brothers, right? You guys want to chat about that?
I was going to say, let me kind of
get it to Walter,
because this is a funny thing. Because now I just want to point out that this is why I say this is such a young teenage, just basically a teenage coming of age film. Because let's face it, especially with Sam, like so many teenagers, I'm the same. I was guilty like this too. My attention span was so short that it was like, well, I don't want to hang out with my big brother, so whatever you're doing, fuck you. So he goes into this comic book store and meets up with the Frog Brothers, and he's looking for different kinds of comic books, like superhero superhero comics, anything. The Frog Brothers and Corey, the main one, I forget what his name was in the film, but Edgar, thank you. Yes, he introduced him and asked him, "Do you know anything about vampires?" And he gives him pretty much comics or kind of a grail in a sense of talking about vampires and how they pretty much influenced or be in the world and how you can defeat them. But see, he's like, dude, what do you give me? I don't want this crap. I mean, I want comics. I want the graphic novels here.
He's like, I don't like horror comics.
Yeah, horror comics. He don't like
this. I was going to say I don't read horror comics, but then they just think he's like somebody who's walked in and they don't realize that he actually generally is a comic fan because he starts looking at the order of the Marvel comics or the DC comics that are on display, and he goes, well, this one shouldn't be in that place because the Red Hulk hasn't even been introduced yet.
Yeah. They're judging him because of his attire. They could like Alan Frog, Corey Feldman's brother, like talk shit about his fashion sense, right?
Mhm.
And then that's when he goes off talking about comics, like the organization of like Superman comics, right? And he's like, I'm actually looking for Batman number 14, you know? And Alan Frog was like, there's only 5 in existence.
Pieces 4 in existence.
There's 4?
It was Corey that responded with 5. I'm always on the lookout for the other 4.
Yeah. That's assuming that he has the one of them. And that's how much of a comic book geek he is. So and then what Walt was saying, they introduced him to the vampire comic.
Yeah, I don't read horror comics, and he's trying to play it off like he's Mr. Cool.
Yeah.
And they're like, we'll like this one, trust us.
Yeah.
But you're saying, he said this might save your life, you know, and that's the reason why they keep, you know, introducing it to him.
I think the vampire comic really it's like his handbook, right?
Yes.
Survival in this movie.
Yeah, like they're modern day. They're like modern day. They said modern day vampire killers and
Right.
like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And after the comic book scene, you see Michael, you know, still trying to chase after Star, and then you see her get on David's bike, and just looks at him, and Sam comes running around the corner. It's like, she stiffed you, man, and then they ride off.
The two. Yeah. So, Daniel Miller, do you want to talk a little bit about Lost Boys after this part?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Now this might be jumping ahead, but there's a scene after this where the kids are at the grandpa's house, and the younger brother is bored, and he's looking up for the TV, and said, "Where's the TV?" The grandpa's like, "I don't have the TV, but I have a TV guide." He's like, well, "Why do you have a TV guide if you don't have a TV?" He said, "So you can read what's being shown, so you don't have to watch it."
It was the
That's
part when they refer to moving in, because he's like, now when the TV guide comes in, sometimes the label will be peeled off with a corner. Now you might be tempted to peel it. Don't do that. You'll rip the cover. Wait, Grandpa, you have a TV? No, just read the TV guide. If you read the TV guide, you don't need the TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't seen a TV. Where's the TV? Have you seen TV, Mike? You know what means when there's no TV? No MTV.
Yeah. Yeah, because of course MTV, that was big back in the 80s. Yeah.
Got even bigger in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when music TV was music TV and not reality TV.
Oh, God.
Now
It's all music videos, right?
Now it's anything
Yeah.
but music TV.
Yeah.
There was no such thing as fucking the Real Housewives back in the 80s.
Nope.
Or the Real World, for that matter. And Real World was a piece of shit anyway.
Speaking of vampires, right?
The Real Housewives are bullshit.
Oh, look at! I forgot. I just noticed. I think I'm the only one that noticed, but it's like a film. Show us the T-shirt, man. Show us the T-shirt.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah,
Yes. Dude, okay, represent. What I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a Lost Boys t-shirt, but it's in the wash.
Oh.
I totally forgot to get it washed, ironed, and dried for tonight. But I'll have to show you my t-shirt one day. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yes.
Right. Okay, now moving on.
Yeah, keep going, then.
Okay. Now
Keep going, Professor.
after this, of course, the mother, she walks into the video store where she meets. Let's see the man's name again.
Max.
Max.
Max. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. She meets Max, and at the moment there's an instant connection. Sparks are going between them. That's when the Lost Boys gang comes into the store, and Max is looking. He's like, "I thought I told you to never come back." And of course, eventually they leave. Of course, after wandering around, just looking at some of the cassettes, and they leave. Then later on, there's a scene of a couple getting it on in the back of the car. The girl's like,
Well,
wait,
if you remember the couple that stole. So basically, what happened is when Sam was in the comic book store,
yeah.
you had
Oh yeah, they get ripped off.
yes. Yes,
Yeah.
there's another gang standing outside, and it's the same gang that had the beef with the Lost Boys gang on the carousel. So next thing you know, they steal a bunch of comic books, and it's the gang leader from the first gang and his girlfriend in the back of a car getting it on, when suddenly the roof of the car suddenly ripped off, and the Lost Boys obviously attack the gang leader and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
It's the same girl that David tried to hit on at the carousel in the beginning of the movie. Remember, he like touched her face, and then the boyfriend comes, and then both gangs are like get into it, and then the security guard like restrains David.
Look at how layered the movie is, that like background characters come back later in ways like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get many films these days where a background character has kind of a mini subplot or is part of the detailing of the main plot.
But it made Santa Carla feel like a real community, not just a film set.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Keep going, Professor. Yeah, keep going, Professor. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Now keep going. Of course, after that, Michael, he goes back to the beach and he meets up with Star again. This time he has another encounter with David and the Lost Boys, and they basically goad him into a race, or to like make him keep up with the
Playing chicken.
Yeah, that's it, playing chicken. The race comes to a head when Michael almost goes off a cliff, and of course the gang are of course laughing at him and making fun of him. And that's when he manages to land a punch. Michael manages to punch David in the face, and he says, "Just you, right now, come on."
I love how he does it. Like,
Yeah,
come
and everyone
on,
is
just you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And instead of giving him the satisfaction of a fight, David just laughs and invites him into their lair, which is where the 1906 earthquake opened up a sinkhole beneath a hotel that used to stand there on the cliff. So they're basically like hanging out in their den, and of course they offer. I think it's, if I remember correctly, it's Chinese takeaway.
Chinese food, yeah. It was rice.
Yeah, yeah.
Rice
They
at
offer
first,
Michael,
and then
yeah,
it's rice and noodles.
yeah, rice and noodles, but the rice, because they confuse him.
Professor,
Yeah?
can I just add something real quick before?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, like that part where the sinkhole shows that old hotel that like I said that fell into one of the earthquakes.
Mhm.
I thought that was really freaking like wow, like they just used that, like I mean, I don't know if it was real or anything like that, but I like that they added to the story.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Isn't that a great like layer for vampires? Like a hotel just collapse into the ground, and then it becomes theirs.
Yeah.
yeah, like they use it.
Yeah.
Right. Professor, can I add too, real quick? That scene when they're like racing in their bikes going through the beach and then off to the cliff. Man, that soundtrack, guys, right? That track of
Lost in the Shadows. Yeah. Say hello to the night. That's I love that song.
That was so dope. That was so
Since
dope.
we're talking about that, it's a sideshow collectible one. It's David, and it even comes with the takeout
Oh
as
my
accessory.
Oh,
Yeah,
man, that's so
yeah,
dope.
it's part of the anniversary, so they've made a really detailed figure, but it's not cheap. I think it's nearly $100.
But also,
Yeah.
just to add on to the professor's saying about that drag race, that chicken race. I know when I first saw that scene, they're racing, but then it pulls away from the lights on the bikes. And you're kind of like, okay, why is it going into the mist and everything? And then when it pulls out, you see the cliff where this
The
lighthouse is.
lighthouse.
I'm thinking to myself, oh shit, that's where they're heading to. I didn't expect that. I mean, that was such a good, foreshadowing of like what's going to happen because he doesn't know they're heading towards a cliff. So I just want to throw that
Right,
in there.
man. You're so right. Well, there's so many great shots in this movie. From an '87 film, amazing shots, well editing. Soundtrack. Everything is really good.
Storytelling, man. Just storytelling in itself, man. Storytelling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And don't forget, this was produced by Richard Donner.
Richard Donner, I was about to say,
Yeah,
don't forget him.
As you know, look at what he did. Yeah, look at what he did with the Superman movie.
Well, he was supposed to direct this film. I think he pulled out from it.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Because of because Donner, he actually directed Goonies before this one, right?
Yes.
Yes,
And
he
then
did.
this was going to be kind of like a play on the Goonies, kids, vampires.
It's the Goonies, but with teenage vampires.
Right. And he pulled out of the film because to direct Lethal Weapon. I might be mistaken for this.
That's
but
right.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think, and then
I'm trying to figure out
Schumacher.
what was he directing?
Yeah. And Lethal Weapon's a good 80s movie as well.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. But
Love Mel Gibson and Danny Glover.
But one thing I love about where we're going with this now is these initial scenes with the introduction of Michael to the gang and them slowly testing the waters with them.
Yeah.
And, trying to pull him deeper and deeper in because obviously you have to see where he's eating. And he goes, how's the maggots, Michael? And he says, yeah, right. And he looks at the maggots, he throws it. And then next thing he's eating worms. And then eventually they get in the wine. And the great thing out, if you look at the wine though, it's not like a cheap wine bottle that you pick up at a local store. The look of the wine bottle looks old and ancient.
Yes.
It's clearly something from a past time.
It's like silver plated and jewel encrusted.
Yeah, jewels, dazzle.
Yeah, it could have come from Romania, which I've been to. Which where I went, it looks very old, but as you know, it's not wine that's inside the bottle, it's blood. And once he drinks the wine, they start cheering him on, but you can slowly see him. He comes across drunk, but he's not clearly drunk. Clearly he's getting pulled deeper and deeper in.
Doesn't he get? But I'm sorry, Kevin. Doesn't Star try to warn him?
Yes, she tries to tell him.
She does. But given that they played with his mind, when it comes to like the rice and the maggots and noodles and worms, he just pushes it off like whatever. It's not blood. This is wine. And that's why he continues to drink it. But like from that scene, don't you guys see that the vampiric powers that he has, David? Hypnotizing Michael and letting him like.
I think that's because he knows when he was telling him what do you like the maggots, like the worm. You see that he's kind of playing on him, but then at the same time, he kind of shrugs off and kind of stops smiling because he's like, I'm trying to introduce you to this. I'm trying to introduce you to it slowly for you to just come in naturally because he doesn't want to force him to do these things. He wants them actually to come in willfully.
There's one thing I'd like to add. If we can see the picture again. One thing I really love about this scene is the effort that went into the set design and the production.
Definitely. It's not a cheap. It doesn't look like a cheap movie. Like like, I'm not being funny. You got that movie that's got very detailed sets. It looks like a lot of effort's been put into it. And then
Absolutely.
you get other movies, we did Fright Night. Fright Night I enjoyed, but that you could tell that was on a lot more of a lower budget.
Well, that's the thing about at this time period that, especially films like this. I mean, they were pretty much, horror, comedy, whatever. They had what you considered. Well, I ain't gonna say low budget. The budget of that time was a little bit higher than what you might think of. You compare it to some of these budgets now, it's very low budget. This movie cost like $9 million.
Yeah.
Fright Night cost like maybe close to 10, something like that. But you can see the effort, you can see the artistry in what they put into it. So I feel like you're not trying to spend money on bullshit. You're trying to spend it on what matters. And the sets, as the professor was saying, they really come out really well, and I like that, especially like the grandfather's house and how it's so detailed, how it's so ruggedly old and whatnot. Just seems like something. I love that set piece. It's there on the screen.
Feel lived in.
Yes, very lived in, and that's why I like that they didn't piss this kind of money off on something that's not necessary. They didn't do that. They put it in what it mattered.
Yeah, I also like this new spin on the vampires. There, like it's not some gothic mansion or a dilapidated building just sitting on a cliffside. No, this is actually a ruin under the ground. Like, it's become part of the earth, and they're literally living underneath the earth itself.
Yeah,
like dystopian, like a dystopian type of dystopian type of atmosphere.
Yeah, that's it.
So,
and it looked great for the budget, like you guys said. So from like 82.5 million for the budget, and they made like.
I think it cost. I think it was
8,500,000
or something like that.
And then I think it made about. I think after its theatrical run, which for its time would probably have been a lot of money, it made about 32 million.
Yeah, right, right. And with that, the film looks great. Like you said.
Whatever.
What was that? Was
Don't scare you.
Professor made his background disappear. You got abilities.
Oh shit, bro! Oh shit!
Hey, Dad, are you pulling a David on me?
Someone clip this.
What the background?
Man,
what the background?
Please, yes.
Is the background not good enough for you? Is the background not good enough for you, D?
He's like, fuck my background. Shit. Get that background out. Get that background out of here.
Daniel, the professor is using his telepathic mind, vampire powers, man.
Yes.
Hey guys, you know who drank from the bottle?
Oh god. That's old.
There we go.
Little sister, that shall not fall.
Oh Lord, this is good.
No, shall not.
So
technical difficulties.
It happens.
Technical difficulties.
Oh God. Oh God, you're killing me right now, man. Oh shit. Okay, we gotta get back on track.
Oh man, sorry, man. Hey, that came out of nowhere. That came out of nowhere. Everybody jumped on it. Everybody jumped on it, man.
You good, Professor? You good?
Oh. I guess this is proof that anything can happen when you go live.
Yeah.
Hey, D, you ain't good enough for the professor's background.
I should just leave. Huh? I'm not allowed in Santa Carla. I gotta leave. I'm gonna go back to Phoenix.
Yeah. Oh my lord. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, man. That was so unexpected. That was so unexpected.
Man, look, Kevin, you definitely got to make this one of your top, clips for end of year if you ever do one. I swear.
Make it a highlight for the best
Well,
of
I
Yes.
got it.
compilation.
I clipped it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
All right, Anthony's on it.
Yes.
So I don't even know where to fucking go after this.
I'll save us. I'll save
Surprisingly, I do know where we left off. So, I mean, if you want to take it to the film, you can.
Hey, well, me and you'll pick up. Hey, speaking of backgrounds hanging around, right? So we get the boys go to this track over a bridge,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
individually,
Right.
they drop, under the bridge, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yes.
they're hanging, just like unlike Professor's background, they're hanging. Right? And you want to go off from there? Well,
Oh,
So what'd you say to the film? I got caught by.
hey, Professor,
Yeah,
just
no,
give it up.
no.
Give it up. Give it up.
No,
we caught
during-
you. We caught you. We caught you. We caught you, Professor. We caught you.
oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you want to take it from what you're talking about with on the bridge
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there?
Yeah, me and you
Yes,
are like down
so-
far.
So,
Okay, well, no, basically,
so,
yeah.
so they're at the bridge, and I believe Michael's standing there, and next thing you know, all of the gang are there, and they're like, see you later, Michael, and one by one they jump. And he's like, are you fucking crazy kind of attitude? And the next thing you know is they've all jumped, and then Michael finally has the courage and jumps down because he sees that they haven't actually fell, but they're hanging from the rafters of the underneath of a train bridge. The train then starts to arrive, but it's all foggy. And David's finally there to try and persuade them, and he's like, join us, Michael, join us.
You're
And
one of us.
yes, you're one of us. And then one by one, they all start to let go and they fall beneath the fog underneath the bridge as the train's coming across. And David finally lets go, is the last one to let go, and he falls. And Michael's just in shock. He's in shock. He's like, has no clue what to do. Eventually, he lets go, and then it's like kind of a dream sequence, and like he's falling in the air. And the next thing you know, he wakes up in his own bed. So,
We don't try to figure out how he got there.
No, you just know something's not right, clearly.
Yeah.
So, Anthony Jordan, would you like to have a talk about the movie?
So he wakes up in his bed, and we have some nice back and forth because he gets up much later than he should. There's some back and forth with him and the brother, and we've also been getting throughout this more great stuff with the vampires, with the grandfather, because we're having this running gag of him giving the youngest son taxidermy. But what I like really comes to head that night where Michael starts feeling more of the symptoms, and the younger brother's on the phone with his. Well, before that, the grandfather's gone because he's fixing to go on a date with this widow, and Michael asks, "So who'd you stuff for her husband?" And he's looking for some aftershave, and he's like, "Well, Grandpa, how about this Windex?" And he's like, "That works." So out of the house, Michael goes to get some milk, and he has an episode which leads to the younger one calling his mom, freaking out as Michael's outside the window floating, and he has to make the decision whether or not to trust his brother, which again, I like that the themes of brotherhood in this, and how far would you be willing to risk yourself for your family. Again, we have just great cinematography, the set design, and even the music used in the film. We've praised the music, but the music is very much feels like a character in this film, and it keeps escalating and building up. The Frog Brothers reveal to him, well, you have to like kill the master vampire, and because the next day the mom goes to bring a bottle of wine. No, that was after the Frog Brother incident. Oh, yeah, it was before the Frog Brothers. He talks to the Frog Brothers, and then the mother drags him along. She goes to bring Max a bottle of wine as an apology, and she gets attacked by the dog. And this is where they first get the clue. Maybe Max is the master vampire, which when you look back how it's played in the way David and the gang, when he says, didn't I tell you guys never to come back here? And they just back off. This film had been planting little seeds throughout the movie that just keep coming back to you. And it's a master class on how to set up your story and trust audience.
The great thing I like about this film as well is they set up 2 different scenes with the animals within the house, within the movie. So, for example, obviously, because she goes on the date, this is prior to what Anthony's mentioned. The mother goes on a date with Max. So she goes on a date with Max. It's the 2 brothers alone in the house. Sam decides to go for a bath, and he's singing out of tune in the fucking bath. It's horrible. And the dog is in the bathroom. Michael obviously goes for some milk, and it turns his stomach, and he just has this craving. And he goes to the bathroom, and when he goes to the bathroom, he's clearly like got a thirst for blood, and he's clearly wants to go and feed off his younger brother, when the husky senses something's not right and protects him and attacks Michael. And that's when Sam gets the first inklings that Michael is not normal, that there's something wrong. And then they look at the mirror, and his reflections in the mirror starting to fade. So he immediately knows he's a vampire, and that's when he rings. That's when he rings the phone.
Well, this before he does that, he says this line that which I love. It's like, my own brother, a goddamn vampire. Were you here? We wait till mommy hears about this, man. Yeah, I love that line.
A goddamn shit sucking vampire.
Yeah.
Great line.
But then she's on a date, and when he's panicking in the house, he rings the restaurant, and that's when the mother panics and leaves to go back to the house.
Yes.
And he turns around and he's like, I had a nightmare about vampires or something like that.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's all it was. And then that's the next day they go to Max's house with a bottle of wine. And the same kind of incident happens, but this time it's his dog that chases after her. But it's clearly, we don't know this at the time, but it's clearly because it's protecting Max in the house.
Right.
Because he's in the car waiting for her to take the wine to him and take the Max. And he actually has a copy of the vampires where it opens and says the Hounds of Hell, and that's what that Max dog is doing. He's literally a demonic dog, and he's protecting Mac.
Yeah, when I was younger and I first seen this, I couldn't connect that bit. It's not till I got older and watched it a couple of more, then I realised that, Max is clearly sleeping in the house. And and they also laid another Easter egg for Max, because they said, I think it's earlier on where they said Max only comes to work at night time. So he kind of he owns and runs the video store in the town, but he only ever comes to the video store on the evenings for the evening shift.
But what's funny though? I mean, that shows how ignorant I was when I first saw this. I'm like, I would never even imagine. that was such a throwaway that I wasn't even paying attention that was the case. He was coming in late at night and doing these things, and I didn't notice that, but as I rewatched it, I was like, oh my God, that like you say, the Easter eggs are right there in your face. You just gotta catch them,
Yeah.
Right. They're just dropping it in front of you, right? But like you guys said, I totally 100% agree with you guys, because I felt the same way growing up. Like I didn't catch it till later on, when I got older, and it's just great characters. Even the dogs are great, like Nanook. Imagine if Nanook wasn't there protecting Sam, it'd be game over. He'd be dead. Michael would have ate him. He'll join David and the gang, but Nanook, great protector. Bit Michael, and then Sam sees Michael's transparent reflection on the mirror. Those are all great scenes, and you're right. Thorn protecting Max while he slumbers, because you can see from this movie. We'll go on, talk about it later. Like when it's daytime, they're like so weak, right? They're like so weak, like they can't really do anything, and that's why, like Walt said, Hounds of Hell, or is it Hells of Hounds or whatever?
Hells of Hounds.
Yeah, they need that protector while they slumber.
But just keep in mind, like, how unassuming Max is too. He comes across as the guy you would go up to. I'm going to be out of town for a couple days. Here's a copy of my keys. Could you keep my pets fed for me and bring my mail in?
Yeah, he seems such a cool guy. Like seeing him in the video store. Like telling the David and the boys, "Hey, I told you not to come around here."
And don't forget after the scene with the when the date goes awry, you have them scenes as well, which played off maybe Max was killed, because you see Max go back to his house after the date, and you see the bikes going towards him.
Yeah. Then there's like a bat kite, right? That hits him on the back. Yeah. And I think this was a misdirect from the director, and it was great. But also, I want to get you guys a take on this. Watching this film is like, David. We'll talk about it later. David's secret, right? We'll talk about it later. I'll ask you guys later.
Oh yeah,
when we get there.
But before we go on, his phone won't let him get in the chat, but he's watching. So shout out to Lethal One Gaming.
Okay.
Cool.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for joining.
Yeah, but this is what I like about this movie. It introduces the characters, and it drops these little hints that at first watching you don't think anything of it until you get to the final acts and the secrets are revealed, and then you watch it again, and it's like, oh shit, that was done brilliantly.
Yeah.
When you know it, watch back when he says, "I told you boys not to come back here," and there's something very subtle in the tone of his voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how a nice guy he is, and then he just turns it off, and when he's saying that line, it's like,
yeah. That's the thing. It's like, see, that's why I say it's a throwaway with him. He seems so, very cool and, very, I mean, that's how outgoing. He's just like very quiet. He has a manner that it's like, I'm putting in authority, and and that's the thing. I think I didn't take that as saying that's more like a parental situation that he was giving off. I was just thinking like, okay, look, this is my store. You need to get out, But I didn't think of it like that way at first glance,
So where do we go next? Who wants to carry on?
I was gonna say, man, like I tried catching it, but because I didn't have a copy of it. I thought I did. I told the Film Fanatic, but I did try to watch it on my Fire Stick, but it kept buffering and I was like, I only caught little pieces, but I just remember where Anthony Jordan had left off, that that he was saying like, where did you leave off?
Where did you go into the I left off like leading up to the disaster date at the house.
Yeah.
Okay, so the mom comes back, and then she's like, she's all like, you made me come all the way over here for this, and all of that stuff, and then Corey Haim's like, trying to, mom, it's real, he's just what any little like panic little kid would do, and then she's like, oh my god, and then and from there, like, I mean, that's the thing, like this part was buffering so much, man, but I can't remember what happens after that.
I think doesn't.
I think that's when like I say, Sam decides to go to the Frog Brothers, and he tells them about his brother.
Oh yeah. He goes and he
Right?
tells them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He gets the
he
number
goes.
from the comic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he tells him, bro, I think my brother's a vampire, and then that's when Corey Feldman starts, like, they start giving him that look, like, okay, so we're gonna have to prepare, we're gonna have to do this, gotta do that, and they start busting out, like, with start showing them what they have, like they have wooden stakes, and they have
Did they have
holy water, and they have a crossbow. Didn't one of them have a crossbow
I think they
or
did.
something? Or it was something like that.
No, it was a bow and arrow.
Okay, bow and arrow. Okay, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, like, that's and then it's just Corey Feldman, man. Like, every time he's on like one of those movies, man. He takes it over the top, but it's over the top in his mind. But it's like when you watch it on like the way he acts, it's not like, it's like, man, it's like he does it. He does it exactly the right way, but he gets a kick. Everybody gets a kick out of it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like he sounds like Stallone in this movie. Wearing that red bandana. He has a deep Stallone
Oh, you talking
voice.
about
Corey Feldman, right?
Yeah,
I think that's what he was doing.
that.
I think he was kind of imitating Rambo.
It's like
Yeah, right?
watch
Yeah,
a
yeah.
bunch of action movies, and he's like,
That
this will make
character.
him look tough.
So
Yeah, and
I think after he introduces the Frog Brothers, they convince Sam that Max is the head vampire, and Max comes round to the house, but he's invited over by the mother, and they're all together, and they try to see if Max is a vampire. They put too much garlic in the meal.
Notice how Grandpa immediately just was the look on Grandpa's face when he walks in.
Right? Yeah, he was in his room. He was in his taxidermy room, just looking on, like, something's odd, about Max.
Yeah,
Right.
and he goes, you don't like garlic? He goes, oh no, I love garlic. There's just too much of it.
Yeah, and they do. Yeah, and they check them, and they try to do like a check with the mirror, right?
Yeah, they do the vampire test. But before then, Michael, he went to sneak out, right? And before, when Michael was leaving, Max was coming in, and Max was like, since you're the man of the house, I won't come in until you invite me. And then Michael's like, okay, you're invited. And I think that's why,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And it's kind of funny their interaction when he.
Yeah, you get a better idea of why he shows such like respect to Michael.
Not just that, Sentry. It's why he passed the vampire test at dinner.
Because he's been invited into the house.
Yeah, they even
pay
lip service to it later.
Yeah.
Right. Because they actually say when the lights cut off, they say, hey, he's not glowing. Yeah, I noticed that. I mean, these things, it's like vampires glow, see, that's one thing I could say about this film too. They take the mythology of vampirism and add their own little twist to it. But that's one of the things I never known that, vampires can do it. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. We don't know. But that's definitely the thing about the garlic. And then when they turn on the lights and he sees the reflection, it's like, okay, he passed the test. I'm like, what's going on here? But you don't know why he passed the test at this moment, because just like I say, for me as a viewer, I'm pretty sure with you guys, you're just like, what is going on? It's like, okay, maybe he was just a throwaway person. He's just somebody they thought could be, the head vampire, but it's like he passed the test. How did he get away with it?
Right, and there's great Easter eggs. Just threw it right in front of you, and then the reveal at the end is great.
And I like what Max does as well, because he goes, when he gets the holy water hide on him, he goes, "Oh, I know what you're doing here. I figured it out." And they think he's going to turn around and say, "Well, what you think? Or I'm a vampire." He doesn't. He changes. He goes, "I'm not here to replace your father."
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, but no, but go ahead and take over, Kevin, or whoever's next.
Well, I just want to add that point there when he says this. That to me is a very important point for this film, because, like you say, his mom is a divorcee, and like so many kids, I'm sorry to say, I was one of those kids who had parents who were divorced. Father and mother divorced, and and everything, and you feel like, well, ain't no man gonna be good enough for my mom, or no woman's gonna be good enough for my father. It's that trait that when he says that, it kind of got me, because it's like I got that, because it's like that was the thing I had to deal with like a lot of kids back then, especially when they were teenagers, knowing that their parents were divorcees and saying that kind of stuff. It's like, hey, I'm not trying to replace whatever you lost. I'm just trying to be part of the lives that is now. Yours, your mom's, your brothers. That's what he was doing. But as I say, that little thing I think is overlooked a little bit, because we don't know who Max really is at this point. But I feel that needs to be put in there, because that's something that was a trait, unfortunately, back in the 80s. It's fluent now, but it was definitely then very potent then.
Yeah. So what happened? So what happens after that is Michael meets up with David and the gang.
Well, not yet. He goes to find David and them, but he gets in touch with Star first, and well, we already know what happens then. But after that's he goes and finds
Yeah. So what happens? So he does meet up with the gang though, and David then kind of, they're around like this tree area near the woods or something, and there's like people partying around a fire. And he basically is like, trying to provoke Michael into killing somebody, which was a great scene, because this is where you get like David in full-on vamp mode.
Amazing.
Yeah, great vampire effects too.
Amazing.
And that was good. Yeah, that's the one thing I could say this does really well. It's subtle makeup, but it's very effective. And Kiefer Sutherland, the guys who play the Lost Boys, they just got this strong facial expression with the makeup that they have on. And Kiefer, boy, he kills it in this particular scene too.
Yeah.
I have to say.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
Like this scene is very it's awesome. It's amazing. And till now everything was kind of comedic and stuff. Now you get this scene's like horror as fuck. You're on that tree, and then David's like, "Okay, Michael, initiation is over. It's time to join the club." And then he comes out from the shadows and reveals his vampire face. Man, it still holds up to me, man. It's scary to me when I was a kid, but it's still dope. It's scary but cool, man. And then Michael looks around, and they're all, in their vampire face. And yeah, like Kevin said, there's that group from the carousel. That's that crew having a bonfire a long ways, and then you see them fly away. Well, you don't see them, right? It's just like a retracted
fly. You just know that they fly
from the camera, right? And then you see them like fucking just going, vampire shit on all these guys. You get David. I love when he bites the bald guy's head, and
that's graphic as hell, dude.
Woo! Yeah, I was like, damn, get it. And then they're just feeding. It's feeding time, boys.
It's like you say, Phil. everything was up. Everything was playtime at this point, up until this point, and then after it's like, oh no, we're not playing anymore. We're going
Yeah.
vicious now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're gonna show you what we really are and what you are. You know, you're one of us.
Like
Mhm.
shit's gonna get real.
Yeah.
Shit not real. Yeah.
The film was so comedic, leading up to this point made this scene all the more jarring.
Right.
Definitely couldn't agree more. But then they do end up going back to the lair, and Star and of course Michael do end up getting intimate.
Yeah.
But it's kind of revealed as well that Star and her son Laddie are also half human, half vampires. And Michael was actually meant to be Star's first kill to make her a full-fledged vampire, which I think really changes Michael's mind. He's kind of been played with and used this entire time.
Yeah, because it's the thing. He's so caught or enchanted by Star. You know, that was actually the thing that was supposed to happen, because she said that night when we met, I was supposed to turn you. You know, and once I turn you, it would make me a full-fledged vampire. You know, but she says, you know, it's so hard for me to resist day by day because I get the urge, but if I do it, I'm just gonna become full-fledged vampire, you know. And it's the fact that she's resisting that hard, that shows right there that it's a part of her that knows that, you know, you can resist, and
there's still humanity left in there.
Yes, exactly. You know, it's like you see how full monster.
That's another great touch, that you're technically a first half vampire till you make your first kill.
Because even Sam says this, you know, he's read up on it. It's like you unless you make your first kill, then you're like, it's no well, in a sense, turning back, but unless you kill the head, you know.
Right. And we never got Star becoming showing her vampire features, right? Because
she never does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that which I found very strange, the fact that she's a half vampire, but you never seen her. But Lado, the son, we'll get to that later on. That scene for me was one of the best shocks and scares in the film. But anyway, because Michael's now realised he's being used, he then decides to lead the Frog Brothers and his brother to the lair during daylight, where when they investigate the ruins of this crumbled hotel after the earthquake and in the caved area, they see the vampires hanging from the rafters.
That's good, because they're not in coffins this time.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Edgar was like, this is what this giant cave is. A huge coffin.
One big coffin to them.
Yeah.
Yes. And during the look, they've got a wooden stake and they decide to try and kill them. And they impale Marco. When they impale Marco, the freaking cave goes crazy. Yeah. Michael loses his shit. They all lose the shit. They're absolutely, basically one of the brothers has been killed. And there's that great sequence where they're trying to escape the cave, where Michael is in rage. David's in rage, and he chases after them. And I love this particular scene. It's one of my favourites, where he's got a hold of one of the legs, and as they're pulling them out of the cave to get him back into daylight, his hand catches the sunlight and he gets set alight. But as he falls back, he's in agony. But he sheds a tear.
See, that shows right there, even though he is a monster, but he's like, you know, yes, you just killed one of my brothers, but it's like, I'm gonna get my vengeance.
He goes from being angered and enraged to grieving to then him starting having this smirk on his face of this little laughter of, I'm going to get you, I'm going to come for you, and I'm going to get revenge.
I think that tier 2 was just a little bit of also knowing that he'll never experience the sunlight again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this again is another example of I was talking about with Kiefer Sutherland, you know, how good of an actor he really is. I don't think he gets enough praise for what he does. I mean, true enough, you know, he's played some, you know, different parts through the years, but to me, I think this one is kind of underrated for what he does because, you know, yeah, he was young, he was coming out of the gate running, but I think he did a really great job portraying a particular creature or person and how he's expressing or emoting certain feelings. And as Anthony's saying, you know, it's like he's never going to experience the sun again. He just lost a brother. And then how he can switch on and off emotions right then and there. And I'm just like, why has this guy never got either an Emmy or an Oscar or something like that? Because he really plays that kind of part really well, you know. But, you know, I guess doing the part what you do is his own reward, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So once this happens and they've messed up and they realise, fuck, we are gonna have our asses kicked tonight when the sun goes down. And this felt for me very much like the Goonies. This gave me Goonie vibes. It gave me Home Alone vibes, where you have the montage of them preparing the house, getting it all prepared
Monster
for a
Squad.
battle.
Even the song in the
that's
background. Yeah, even the song in the background, kind of little Goonie theme.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And I was gonna say, didn't Michael try to use the vampiric powers against any of them?
He does later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, like Kevin was saying, this you get a montage of them getting ready, preparing, like you guys said, Monster Squad. Yeah, exactly. They go to the first they go to Lucy, right? And Sam tries to tell Lucy what's going on, but she's not having it. Yeah, she's not having it. Just you know, she's at work, and then Sam's like, he tells Edgar and Alan like, oh, we're on our own, and they go off to the church, get some holy water, right? While baptismal is going on, baptism.
Doing this, the grandfather is planting very big stakes in the ground.
Right. Large stakes on the ground, right?
And he doesn't even seem to care. They're driving off with his prized car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the Nook is there, right? The dog.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they get the grandfather out of the way by saying, "You have a date tonight."
Yeah.
Right. Get him out of there while they start preparing and barricading the door, closing off the windows and stuff. And you get Star, Laddie, and Michael knocked out in the room, and the other three just preparing their squirt guns, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Holy water and garlic.
Oh yeah, they chopping up garlic like crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm just so after that they've prepared the house. It's like 4 fucking knocks to get in if you're a vampire. But the difference is, and I think this is the reason why they are able to get harmed, is because they're not invited into the house. They basically break into the house. That's the difference, yeah.
Right.
So if they were invited into the house, if you think about it, when one falls into the bath, I don't think the holy water would have affected him.
Right.
Stuff like, because when Max was invited into the house, he ate garlic and it didn't even touch the sides.
Also, Max is a master vampire, so it stands to reason, even not being invited, he might have a higher tolerance to these things than they would.
Yeah, right.
In
this movie, we don't get their origins. We don't know how old Max is. He could be 200 years old, 100 years old. We don't know.
Yeah.
How much and how strong this guy is.
The great thing I love about the initial attack, when they come to the house, is Nanook is tied outside against the fence. They totally forget that he's still locked out outside, and you have that great shot of Sam going to rescue him, and then Michael goes, and then you have that shot of like the camera angle as like if following them in to like kind of give off the impression that the vampires are heading towards the house.
Yeah.
Can I add? This is before drones, right? To get that aerial shot, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's awesome.
See, that's why I say the technology at the time, they can only use what they had, and that was the thing. Yeah,
they probably would have had like some clothesline strung up or something in the camera, riding by on a dolly to get that shot.
Right.
Yeah. So obviously, they get to the house. Laddie installs in one of the bedrooms, and slowly, one by one, things are creaking in the house, and suddenly you hear noises, and then suddenly, one by one, the vampires invade the house. So, out of all the kills, I'll ask this: out of all the kills of the vampires in the house, before we get to the fight with David, which one do you think was the best kill? When the Frog Brothers and that take out the vampires.
Bathtub.
Yeah.
Mine is Death by Stereo.
I was gonna say the Death by Stereo one, because when Homeboy said when Sam shoots the arrow at him, he said, "You missed, sucker," and said, "Only once, pal," and he shoots him, and he gets electrocuted by Stereo.
Yeah.
And the funny thing, the song is playing when he's getting electrocuted and everything. Dude, I'm like, dude, that's beautiful.
It's classic, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
He blew up, right?
Yeah, he blew
Totally
up.
80s.
Exploded.
Total 80s, bro.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Total 80s.
The 80s were the best time.
Yes, and then obviously you did get that amazing reveal in the bedroom of Lado.
It's the attack of Eddie Munster.
You're right.
Damn, he looked great, huh? Oh my God, look at that. Scary.
He really was.
So one by one, you have the bathroom attack, then you have the stereo attack, and then Lado and Star are left, and then it's down to the final two, Michael and David. Which Michael and David, I just love their little battle, and the fact that Michael's now he's got his powers.
Yeah, he's engaged them right now.
He's got no choice but to embrace them at this point.
Yeah.
And to have that kind of mini aerial battle.
Yes, because when they first attack, David's up in the rafters there, and he comes, and I love how he comes out of the shadows. It's like, because Michael says, you trying to make me a killer, he said, you are a killer. And then, you see that when his face comes around camera, Michael's face, there's a drip of blood comes down, he kind of licks it, and it's like, oh shit, it's on now,
Yeah, but when he turns around, that song drops. The intro of a Cry Little Sister drops.
Yeah.
The song. Oh, it's awesome.
Cry little sister.
And then they go into the battle, man. They just like fly. I'm like, dude, this is the funny thing about this. Like I said, another mythology about this is like they don't have to be bats. They don't have to have wings or anything like that. They can fly like Superman, and it just.
You can thank Richard Donner for that one.
Yeah.
Good point. That's yes.
So we know where it leads, the final battle, and unfortunately, poor David meets an end.
If you look carefully, when David gets impaled, does he not actually look relieved that he's going to die?
Yeah.
Kind of.
And
I
think
never
that
got
this
that
was
myself.
He's struggling at first, but
He's like,
It feels like he's like you say, it's like he's been released of this. As much as they live in this lifestyle of being vampires and never getting old, they can't, they're never going to age. They're kind of stuck in the mindset of the era that they're brought up in. So as time passes by, everything changes except them. It's like it's like a prison. It's like being stuck in prison.
yeah, I think that is.
Outside might be perfect, but you've got this inner battle all the time. And when he does meet his end, as much as he had, I think he's relieved as well because all of his family's been wiped out. The lost boys, he's lost his brothers, lost Margot, and one by one. In the fact he was the last one left, he's now with them in a sense. He's now joined them,
So he could be at peace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I find this scene somewhat inspired by the Doctor's death in the original Salem's Lot, when Marston picks him up and throws him onto the wall of antlers.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else feel that?
That could have been somewhat of an inspiration because that came out in 1979.
That was a brutal death too, man. Poor Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
not as brutal as death in the book.
And I was gonna say that's a TV made movie, but I'm pretty sure, like you say, the book was probably more brutal than that.
I'm surprised for a TV movie they were actually allowed to get away with showing a man impaled on antlers.
Well, remember that was the 70s, and just look at some of the stuff Fred Sanford got away with saying.
Hey,
Not
Kevin,
just
I'll be
him,
right back.
the Jeffersons too.
Kevin, I'll be right back.
Okay. No, the Jeffersons too. They said some things that was like, oh wow. I mean, they actually said that on TV. Dude, if y'all was living during that time, especially the 70s, oh boy, there was no play on that. It was like, nah, all games are off.
Well, in the UK, we had a couple of 70 shows that if they said the things that they said now in those shows, my God. I forgot one of the one. It was called Thou Neighbor or something. Where you had a white neighbor and you had a next door neighbor who was black, and they used a lot of profanity and a lot of stereotypes which they could not do today.
No,
it was really outrageous for its time.
But I'm thinking that over in the UK, y'all had more. Well, I was just gonna say y'all had more freedom to do those things.
Yeah, but probably did back in the 70s.
Yeah,
but they would never make a show like that now. But now that Jay's back, we're on to the final stretch of the movie. So obviously the chaos has ensued, and then the mother returns with Max after their date. And, you know, she's looking at her boy, she's worried, she's thinking, I can't believe what's happened. Are you okay? What the hell's going on? But when Max walks into the house, he's very quiet. He seems very relaxed. He goes over to David and he looks him over. And he slowly, his attitude slowly changes. He then kind of, you know, he's like, you know, my boys and all this. He starts talking. Even then the mother starts looking at him, what you talking about? Your boys and all, you know, I did warn them and stuff like this, and then it's slowly revealed that he is the master vampire.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Star was like, oh, you're David's secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the secret that
the secret that David was keeping.
Yes. That is, I'm assuming it's his father.
I would have to say
Or
so. That's what I was feeling.
it's either his blood father or
Mhm.
Somebody
he's the
did.
one who sired him.
Yeah.
It's
And
going
I'm
to be
assuming
something.
if he sired him, David then created his gang and sired them all.
Yeah.
Because he's
And
like the leader.
that's what I wanted to ask you guys when we get here, when we got
Cody.
here, this point. Do you think, since it's David's secret, Max is the main vampire, the Lost Boys, like Paul, Dwayne, and Marco, did they know about Max? From my point of view, they didn't, because even though like they go to the video store, and Max is there, I don't think the boys knew. Only David was keeping that secret from
But
them.
then how did Star know? Because Star was like, you're his secret, so how did she know?
I would.
No, she didn't know. She's like, it was revealed then that there was a secret, but she didn't know till then. Till the end. I don't know. That's what I was.
I kind of take it as he was the one that sired all of them, but she didn't know, because you're not going to find out until you make your first kill and become a full-fledged vampire. But his identity still being the master, he needed to be that protective that unless you're a full-fledged vampire, you're not going to know.
That makes sense.
That makes
But obviously, this leads to a battle between Michael and Max, which David, gets the shallow end of. And just when you think all is said and done, you hear the noise of Grandpa's truck.
That horn.
Here he comes. Yeah.
And the next thing you know, he comes bursting through the front of the house, and I guess the fence poles come flying out, and they basically pin Max to the fireplace, where he explodes in a ball of glory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what does Grandpa say? What does Grandpa say at the end of that?
One thing about living in Santa Carla, I never could stomach all the vampires.
Yeah,
All the goddamn vampires.
Is it the one thing about living in Santa Carla? I never could stomach all the damn vampires. That's
And
the actual quote.
And what's funny about this scene is when the mom, asks, Grandpa, you're all right, and the two sons follow him in, and when he says that line, the last shot you see is their bewildered face, like
they're like, "What the fuck?
What? You knew this whole damn time?" Right. And then when like I say, when he closes with the light, when he closes the refrigerator, the light goes out. It's like they just left with this bewildered face, like, you couldn't have told us this,
Like, you should have told us this before we moved in.
I'm like, dude. I mean, that was the thing that really kind of just like threw me off, because I was like, damn, Grandpa knew this time. He's always been kind of, quiet, clear, but this could have been information, could have been shared to us, I'm like,
look at how subtly it was.
What happened to the mother.
His more focus was getting to the widow Johnson. That's all.
Yes, look at how subtly it was set up throughout the movie. Like, even when Max comes over and he's just peeking out through his taxidermy window, just like eyebrow.
Right.
He knows Max is a vampire.
Yeah. And even when he started his car, right, with Sam, he's like, "Okay, let's go to town." Then he turns off the engine. He's like, "I'm not going to town."
I want to get
right.
This is as far close to town as I get.
Who now that we're older can relate to that mentality?
I can.
And then when they take the car out later on, and he goes, "Hey, do you know the rule about filling the car up with gas when you take it without asking?" Well, now you do.
Now you do.
Right.
He's a great character, man.
Yeah.
Which again, he knew they were preparing for the vampires, so that's why he didn't say nothing when they took the car.
Yeah.
And the fact that he had loads of spike, like, you know how he does the taxidermy in the garage? The fact he had loads of spiky objects and that lying round, like little wooden spikes and paws that you wouldn't have thought were stakes,
Yeah.
but could be used as stakes. It kind of all made sense from day one.
Yeah.
And
It's
he was
also,
Yeah.
adamant about stay out of the taxidermy shop.
Hey, we don't know. Maybe he was a vampire slayer at one time.
It makes me wonder what happened to his wife. Was his wife killed by a vampire?
Yeah.
but with the end quote that he says about all the damn vampires, I can just picture Burt Gummer saying, "I feel I was denied critical, need to know information."
That's just crazy.
Right? He was the Trevor Belmont of
Yeah.
Santa Carla.
Yeah. Because that's why I say the picture ends with a. Go ahead, Anthony.
If I was one of them, and I'd be like, old man, I swear, if I find out there are werewolves in here too, I'm putting you in a nursing home and never visiting.
Oh God. But see,
Well,
that's why I say
actually,
this
Edgar-
movie ends. This movie ends with such a brilliant comedic moment after a hellacious thing they went through to let you know it's like, well, Grandpa ain't all insane. He is very sane. You know, he's all,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys caught this in the movie when they're in a comic book store. Edgar says like, "Oh, there's ghouls and werewolves in
Yeah, I
What's
remember.
that called?
Yeah, that's
City
right. He
Hall.
did say that.
City Hall." So I don't know if that's true, but he did say that.
It makes
Yeah.
you wonder if they ever thought about spinning it off into like a franchise where they went after werewolves and that, but I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad it was a one and done.
I think
Yeah.
I heard something
It
about that,
is
but I don't think that.
a
Yeah, you
one
said I
and
don't think they're gonna do it.
So
We're not
I know
even going to
there's
talk about the
talk-
horrendous sequels. They do not exist.
I know there's been talks about remaking this. Instead of remaking it, just take the basic premise and swap the monster out. Because you can take that premise and do something different without remaking the film.
Yeah.
There's a lot of noise in the background. I can't hear what
What's
Anthony's doing.
going on?
I couldn't
Oh,
hear
sorry.
anything.
Sorry, my bad.
I was saying that there's been talk for years about remaking this.
Mhm.
I'm thinking instead of remaking it, take the premise, make it your own, and swap out vampires with another monster like werewolves.
Yeah. In addition to that, I think they could even do an origin story. Or like you said, a continuation. Yeah.
Well, when me, Anthony, Kevin, and Omni did the talk about Friday Night, we was kind of saying, the character of Jerry. What was it? I'll just say
Jerry Dandridge could have used the prequel.
a prequel to his backstory, because from what we realized, he lived like 1,000 years, as a vampire. So whatever was before the film Fright Night, what happened before all that? What was his backstory that he became a vampire, or was he born a vampire? We don't really know, because there's so much, like say little things that say, like I say, he had a lover, he had a sister, and what led him to be what he is, So it's like it's a lot of things that they could have done with that. They could do a prequel to this, but it may not have been as good though.
Also, bare minimal, I'd say Max was probably turned into a vampire at or around 1906, because the way I look, he was probably the original hotel owner. He got turned, left, and he came back in the 80s, so that hotel that they were using as their tombstone, that was his original property.
Well, that's what's great about this movie, man. You make your own origin story, right? You could.
Well, apparently, they all talks that they're all doing a remake.
Oh no.
I heard that.
Mm.
I just feel that shouldn't be allowed, but I mean, Hollywood's going to do.
Well, let's
be down
face
to do
it,
anyway.
nothing is sacred anymore.
No.
So
No.
apparently, according to what I'm reading, Warner Brothers is planning to take another bite of the 1980s cult classic The Lost Boys with a modern day take starring Noah, Jupe, and Jaden Martell. Jupe starred in A Quiet Place and appeared in The Undoing and Honey Boy, and while Martell was part of the It movies assemble and starred in the Defining Jacob series, as well as appearing in Knives Out and Masters of Sex. Jonathan Entwistle will direct with Randy McKinnon, who is working on a Static Shock for Warner Brothers and DC, writing the new version of the studio confirmed.
Well, it
Wow.
might not go anywhere because there was supposed to be another remake a few years ago with some of the cast members from Stranger Things.
Timothy Chalamet, or whatever the fuck he's called, has also been rumored to be in a Lost Boys remake.
If that's David, I'm gonna snap.
Well,
But let's go
Only
back to
one
the
Lost
one
Boys
that all no one loves and talk about this one. Let's have our final thoughts. So, Walter, your final thoughts on this 80s classic?
Well, like I say, this was a very coming of age film for me because, like I said, it touched on certain subjects, but at the same time, it's a fantasy in terms of the vampires and how they're being killed and how they live and all that. And I think that's kind of a good blend, to taking two kind of genres, taking a kind of a John Hughes kind of film with dealing with teenagers and just something dealing with horror, which is vampires, and kind of meld them together and see what you get. Just put them in the mixer and see what comes out. And I think that did pretty well. I mean, true enough, you did something. Someone did something similar, but I think this is more ingrained with teenagers in terms of just dealing with everyday life and whatnot, and dealing with divorce, with divorcees and all that stuff. And for me, I feel that this picture is one of those gems that should not be remade, but they're going to get it remade anyway. But it stands the test of time because here we are talking about it almost 40 years later. And like I say, I mean, you can't really do any better, because it was the 80s, and 80s had so many things coming out of there that was just mind-boggling. It's just like, it's a shame that people just can't treasure it as it is instead of making it different for today's audience. Hey, for me, I feel that this one is up there, top tier.
Daniel Miller.
Let's see. I would have to rate this a full 10 out of 10 personally. It's and just to elaborate on what Walter said, it's a great coming of age story. It's also a teenage rebellion story to a degree. And what's great is how it treats the vampire mythology. It takes the basic established rules but presents them with little twists and hints that you wouldn't really suspect. But when it gets to the final act with the head vampire being revealed, it's like, you invited me in. That's why it didn't work. So that wasn't completely negated. That rule was still kept in the canon for that movie. Another thing I also love about it is very much the whole setting of it, particularly the 1980s setting. It has a nice touch of nostalgia for those who lived in the decade, and it also paints a really interesting picture for what it would have been like being part of the youth generation in that decade.
Yeah.
The production design and also the vampire effects and the set design for the tomb are the highlights in terms of the making of, in my opinion. The soundtrack as well greatly complements the film, along with the cinematography and directing.
Yeah. D.
Like I said before, man, this is one of my favorite movies. Not just because it's a vampire movie. It's just a good-looking movie all throughout. Much props to Joel Schumacher. He made vampires sexy, teenage vampires, and I love the two Corys. The story's good. All the actors, praise all of them. They did a great job. Most importantly, Keith Sutherland, and he was dope. He was amazing. Yeah, man. This story is referenced from J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan story. With the Lost Boys. They never grow old. They never die. And but like what David said, you must feed. It's a good twist to it. And yeah, I love it. And thank you for having me here, man. I enjoyed it being here.
Oh, it's lovely having you on. I'm finally glad you got to be a part of one of my streams. Sci-Fi, your opinion? What's your final thought on the Lost Boys?
Definitely ahead of its time. Great vampire film. It was ahead of its time. It had a lot of in its own. It was its own film, its own vampire film in its own setting. Cinematography, the story, the actors, all the upcoming actors at the time. Of course, the fabled. It's also to me a period piece.
Mm-hmm.
So everything about the movie, the soundtrack, of course, is amazing, and the soundtrack went with the film. The you can tell the actors took, even though they called it like a black comedy, horror, but to me, people took their role seriously, and overall great film, man. I mean, definitely a product of its time, but ahead of its time also.
Yes. Well, before we carry on, Lethal or One Game in the movie is one of my all-time favourite. Nice work, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, Lethal. Anthony Jordan, your thoughts on the movie?
All-time classic. This movie both takes me back to my childhood and the end of my teenage years, because it was in my life at both of those times. It's great performances, the music is great, cinematography, the pacing. I give the movie a 10 out of 10, and I give all the actors a 10 out of 10 except for the grandfather. I give him 100 out of 10.
Yeah.
Well, my final thoughts are, this is an 80s classic. Like I say, I think every generation has a vampire movie that defines that era. And this, for me, is definitely the one that I remember the most from the 80s. The 80s was also very much well known for the Hughes films, The Breakfast Club, things of that nature. And for me, this is one of those films that is a coming of age story with a horror twist to it. It's also, like Dee mentioned, it's connected, the story's inspired by the Lost Boys from Peter Pan's tale. A great, amazing music. The score for me it's just as powerful, just as, rememberable is the film itself. Like you say, great cinematography, great story, great cast. Overall, for its time, I think it was ahead of its time, and it was like one of them films where the music in the film and the story all work together. And the film, I don't think, would be as memorable without an amazing score, but as well as an amazing cast and amazing performances. If I had to rate it, I would still give this 10 out of 10. I don't think it's changed at all throughout the years. I still think it holds up. But anyway, this has been amazing as always. This has been, the Retro Classic Movie Show, where we talk about films anywhere from the 70s up to up to the early 2000s. We are also just being joined by Gojira 85.
Yeah.
Get well fast. Get well quick. Get well soon, bro.
Get well soon.
Get well soon.
Get well soon, but we're all just about to wrap this up. But like I say, this has been an amazing time with all you guys. Dee, thank you. I made sure
Thank
I
you,
did
brother.
something special for you to join us.
Thank you, brother.
And I'm glad we did one of your all-time favourite films.
Thank you
The
so
Lord
much.
of the Rings.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Yes. Walter, have you got anything coming to your channel?
Not in this time because I've been actually busy, but like I say, November, I'm probably gonna kind of be like sci-fi, kind of dial it down a little bit because I've been busy with things. But I'll have something in the works. I'm not sure what for, but like I say, it's a work in progress. About like
Yes. Daniel Miller, I know you've got your ghost stories coming up.
yes.
Yes, indeed. The horror stories, they are now in the phase of post-production. They're currently being edited together. It's going to be finalized, and hopefully before the 31st, it'll hit YouTube.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Sweet, sweet.
Twists,
Dee, I know you're busting your ass in your job. Yeah, you know, you're living the dream, you're making shit happen. I love to see it. You're an inspiration to all. Of course, I don't know, obviously, you are at the minute are running like a YouTube channel, but I will let you know, I would like you back on the channel in the future. I definitely want you back on as a guest.
Of course, as long as I'm off that day, schedule.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
but
Well,
I can
we'll
make
plan it in advance. We'll plan it in advance, and we'll definitely have you back.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for letting me go down this road of nostalgia with my all-time favorite movie. This is why we're all friends, and you guys are my brothers because we all agree. We love this movie
Yes.
just like me, man.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Always welcome. Always welcome. Sci-fi, anything coming to your channel?
Probably not, man. I what I need to do is recover and sit and get situated everything with what I'm going through, and if I'll let everybody know like I usually do ahead of time that if I decide to if I feel good enough, then physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, then I will let you guys know that if Event Horizon might be maybe try to do it before Halloween, but I'm not seeing I'm not seeing it probably won't. I don't think it will because of everything. I have a lot of appointments in November, but yeah, so far nothing in the works. I have Conan in the works, but that one's probably gonna be postponed for even after Halloween, probably towards the end of Thanksgiving, because I don't want to say anything yet. I just want to right now it's just recovery. That's pretty much it.
That's the main thing. Get yourself back to good health.
Yes, sir.
Anthony Jordan.
Well, I got my rest of my Montober finished, so I got my Why I Was Wrong About Halloween 3 video, my Late Night with the Devil, my which one was Halloween H2O on Halloween Day, and I also recorded one last short story called The Wendigo Journal, which I was partially inspired while live streaming Until Dawn. And I was also, for anyone who's played classic Resident Evil, I was inspired by the Itchy Tasty file, and the premise is a guy keeping a journal after a plane crash. In his journal is his just descent into the influence of the Wendigo spirit, and as he starts losing his humanity. So like there's a certain point where his sentence structure just goes all over as the Wendigo spirit is taking him over.
Sounds amazing. Cannot wait to read it or listen to it. As for me and the entertainment headquarters, we are heading to the end of October, Taste the Blood month, the month of the vampire. I do have 2 other things planned. I do have my personal tour blog from Romania at Bran Castle Dracula coming to the channel. I might, and then tomorrow we'll have Taste the Blood Part 2, where we'll be reviewing Dust Till Dawn, Queen of the Damned, Let Me In, and John Carpenter's Vampires. And as I was going to say, there might be a couple of little surprises also leading to the end of October. Then when we get into November, we're back to the normal channel segments. I'll be doing the next retro classic movie show, which will be Cyborg. We then have the Into the Darkness franchise discussion, which will be Candyman. And we will be returning to the Kaiju Connection segment when we will be reviewing the 1950s classic Tarantula. So all good stuff coming to the entertainment headquarters in November. But I just want to thank all of my amazing guests. I love having you on. Like you said, we're a chosen family, and it's always a pleasure to hang around you guys and talk shit, have fun, and just enjoy what we'll enjoy, the passion of movies and entertainment.
You know it.
Yes. So with that said, thank you for everybody that's tuned in and watched today. Hopefully you'll continue to follow all of these amazing people. Please like, share, and subscribe to all our channels. And that's Canuck, because there's a fucking vampire on his way.
Right?
Sorry.
Quiet, Nook.
He's still protecting. He's still a good dog. But anyway, all I can say now is please like, share, and subscribe to my fellow content creators. And thank you, Dee, once again. This was for you. I had to have you on, and it's wanted to do one of the best films with a good friend. But like I always say, keep on loving all things entertainment, and we'll catch us all at the next one.